So today we're talking about the players the Indiana Fever absolutely have to protect in the upcoming expansion draft. And let me be very clear from the start. This is not even really a prediction video. If the Fever mess this up, just fire the front office on the spot. I'm serious. There are some decisions here that are so obvious that if they get them wrong, it's borderline organizational malpractice. Now, I will say this slightly unpopular opinion. I wouldn't actually mind seeing Christy Wallace back on a minimum deal. Hear me out. As a starter, yeah, she wasn't good. We all saw that. But as an end-of-the-bench player on a cheap contract, that's a completely different conversation. She shot around 40% from three the year before. She's at scoring flashes. And if you can bring her in on like a 2-year minimum as depth, I'm not against it. Would I protect her over someone like KK Timpson? Probably not. But I also don't think KK has this insanely high ceiling people are acting like she does. That being said, we all know the Fever are protecting KK. Why? Because they've basically been promoting her everywhere. She's been featured constantly. That tells you everything about how the organization views her. Now, let's talk about the rules here for a second. If the Fever want to guarantee they keep control of players, not necessarily keep them, but keep their rights, they're going to have to pay up. Pretty much every player outside of Caitlin Clark and KK Timpson is in a situation where another team could come in and offer more money, which means, realistically, almost everyone is somewhat on the chopping block. Even someone like Natasha Howard. And I know she was exempt before, but let's be real, no expansion team is throwing her a supermax. And more importantly, I don't even think Indiana is going to be the team that pays her big money anyway. I genuinely think she's going to get something like $800K to $900K on the open market, just not from the Fever. Her impact last season, outside of 1 or 2 big moments, it wasn't that different from what we saw from Alyssa Smith. And let's not forget, the Fever literally had to give up a first-round pick just to move on from Alyssa Smith. That tells you everything about how they evaluate that type of production. So yeah, Natasha Howard, not someone I'm prioritizing in protection. Now let's go player by player. Kelsey Mitchell, this one is simple. You keep her, end of story. Whether they core her or not is going to be interesting, because if she signs a Supermax extension, she's not going anywhere. That's the rule. You can't sign a Supermax and then trade it. So if she signs that deal, she's locked into Indiana. If she doesn't, then you at least have flexibility. And honestly, both options make sense. You either keep her as part of your core, or you move her at peak value and get assets back. There's real logic to both paths. Now, Odyssey Sims, they're not protecting her. And it's not even complicated. If they really want to keep her, they'd already have a pathway to do it without using a protection slot. Same thing with players like Ari McDonald. If Indiana uses a protection slot on her, again, fire the front office. Immediately. Bree Hall? There's slightly more logic there, but still no. Chadorai Walker-Kimbrough, Erica Wheeler type players? No. Natasha Howard, like we said? No. Aliyah Boston? Obviously yes. Sophie Cunningham. Now this is where it gets interesting. And I'm going to say something a lot of people won't agree with. You don't need to protect Sophie Cunningham. And that sounds crazy at first, but think about it. If Sophie wants to leave for an expansion team like Toronto or Portland, she's gone anyway. Protection doesn't change that. And if she doesn't want to leave, then she's staying regardless. That's the reality of this situation. Expansion teams are not going to waste massive contracts on mid-tier players when there are going to be legitimate stars available. And I mean real stars. If you look at potential expansion pools, you're talking about players like Brittany Sykes, Natasha Cloud, Nneka Ogwumike possibly, Sada Sabali, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Courtney Williams, Gabby Williams, even someone like Brittany Griner potentially being available depending on protections. From previous All-Star pools, you can see names like Jonquil Jones, Eriko Gunbowl, Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray. Why would an expansion team prioritize Sophie Cunningham over those types of players? It just doesn't make sense. And even in a scenario where they really want her, if they're willing to offer her a massive deal, she's leaving in free agency anyway. We literally saw this exact situation play out with Tiffany Hayes. The Aces protected her, and still lost her. At the same time, they lost Kate Martin in the expansion draft. A young, cheap, controllable asset. That's the mistake you cannot make. Protecting the wrong player doesn't just risk losing them. It risks losing someone else more valuable. So for Indiana, protecting Sophie Cunningham doesn't actually guarantee anything. Now, Lexi Hull, you protect her. That's about retaining rights and maintaining value. Brianna Turner, you can let her walk. Damaris Dantas, same thing. KK Timpson, again, you protect her. Not necessarily because she's a future star, but because she's an asset. She's cheap, she's young, and even in a worst-case scenario where she doesn't develop, you can still flip her for something later. That alone gives her value. Caitlin Clark, obviously no discussion needed. She's untouchable. Now, Chloe Bibby is a really interesting one, because technically, Indiana has rights to her, and she's likely on a minimum-type deal. And honestly, I think she showed more than people give her credit for. There were stretches where she was playing solid defense, spacing the floor, contributing in wins, and then she just got pulled from the rotation. It felt more like a coaching decision than a performance issue. If I'm making the call, I'd seriously consider protecting Chloe Bibby over KK Timpson. I don't think the Fever will do that, but I think there's an argument. At the very least, she's one of the most likely players to actually be taken in the expansion draft. Now, here's the bigger picture that a lot of people are missing. Expansion drafts are not what people think they are. Teams don't actually want most of these players. Last year proved that. Teams passed on a ton of recognizable names and instead took players stashed overseas or players most casual fans had never even heard of. Because the real strategy isn't building your roster through the draft. It's building through free agency. The expansion draft is just a starting point. So when people panic about losing specific players, you have to understand, half the players taken probably won't even be major contributors. That's just the reality. So for Indiana, this isn't about trying to save everyone. It's about protecting your core assets, your young players, and your trade value pieces. And if they do that, they'll be fine. If they overthink it, that's when things go wrong. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Who would you protect if you were running the Fever? And I'll see you in the next one.